Romania is the crossing point between the Occident and the Orient, and a kaleidoscope of different cultures. With over half the Carpathian mountain range weaving through it, Romania is the custodian of Europe's greatest surviving mixed forests. Below its majestic peaks, national parks, historic villages, castles and fortified churches preside among rolling foothills that give way to rich plains, and to the east, Europe's greatest wetland, the mighty Danube Delta, which fans out into the Black Sea, creating its own vast and priceless ecosystem. In Season 3 of Flavours of Romania, we will again embark on a journey through Romania's 9 historic regions, discovering magical landscapes, mouth-watering recipes, music, crafts, and local traditions, and meeting the people that make this one of the warmest and most hospitable countries in the world.
What I love about Brașov is rather like Sibiu, as we saw in Season 2 of Flavours. You have this Saxon architecture, which means there's lots of secret courtyards, some of which are now fancy bars and restaurants. And the entire city was surrounded by a fortified wall, the Old Town, which I'm standing right in the middle of now. It used to be called Kronstadt in German because it was the Saxons that originally built Brașov. And the walls go all the way along the line of the trees over there, and that's where the city stops and the wilderness begins. I don't know anywhere in the world where you have such an abrupt end to civilization, and in a few meters you enter a huge forest full of cliffs, full of bears and wolves. So there's the national park, and here is one of the prettiest cities in Romania.
There's 2 bears, one I'm looking at, just across the valley there. It's a mother bear, and there's a younger one that's already run up. She's looking back at me, not bothered by us. There they go. They're running down the side of that slope. There's one. Look, there we go. She's just gone off through the trees there.
Well, I don't have to be Bear Grylls to tell you that that's extremely fresh, which is lucky because I've already had breakfast.
Bison are known as a keystone species and play a vital role in the food chain. Their grazing helps maintain the biodiversity-rich mosaic landscapes of forest and grassland, while they also serve as prey for apex predators like the wolf and the bear. Moving on from Saskis, we turn left at Sighișoara and head a few miles southeast to the village of Criș, a fairy tale Saxon community that has seen its fortunes change since the Bethlen family reclaimed their ancestral estate and transformed it into an aspirational eco-lodge. With historic buildings converted into stylish accommodation and a central restaurant, bar and sitting room, this has suddenly become one of the top culinary destinations in Romania.
This is the start of the tasting menu. We're gonna present 8 elements of our restaurant tonight.
Okay.
Starting from the left, we have courgette with our 8 years old Gouda cheese mousse. On the other side, we have stuffed courgette leaves with smoked trout. Next, we continue with millefeuille. It's with yingling offal pate and liver pate.
Yingling being the young goat.
The young goat,
Yeah.
exactly. And on the right side, we have the yingling liver and the heart. with a peach sauce.
I always used to say here, nature is not manicured or pedicured. It's really nature. It's the wilderness.
It's
still.
not a Carpathian garden, is it?
No.
No.
For my next stop, I'm heading to a dormant volcano, deep in the forest. Riding uphill through a tunnel of beech and oak trees, we enter a green world where man is not the only apex predator.
Stay. Good bear, stay. I haven't got any food, stay where you are. I'm stopping at a safe distance from these bears because human contact is the worst thing you can give them. They're becoming habituated to people. A lot of cars just stop, they chuck food out for them, and the bears, as a result, start losing their fear of us. So drive on. Don't feed them. Yes, they may be cute, but they're actually wild animals, and they need to stay wild.
Moving on, we continue our ascent up the slopes of the Cimadul volcano. Currently dormant, but according to volcanologists, becoming increasingly restive in recent years. At its peak is Lacul Sfânta Ana, a breathtakingly beautiful crater lake and part of the Mohos Nature Reserve, which includes an eerie wetland with white skeletal trees and marsh ponds that look black in the overhead sun. About 20 kilometers northwest, and you come to Sighișoara, and perhaps the most spectacular citadel in Eastern Europe. Flanked by 9 towers, linked by walls and battlements, this is one of the few fortified towns that is fully inhabited and plays host to a constant stream of visitors from around the world. Overlooking the Târnava Mare River, it was in its heyday a vital trading hub, with merchants travelling here from across the Holy Roman Empire. The old centre is a maze of cobbled streets, winding alleyways, and secluded squares. It's also the birthplace of Romania's most famous anti-hero.
This is allegedly the birthplace of Vlad Dracul. I didn't realize he lived above a restaurant. Well, being immortal, there's a fair chance he's still around today, so let's go and see if he's in. Just got hit by a very large spider. Okay, it's a bit dark. That's scary. That's a health and safety hazard.
It was really of your brilliantly some of the happiness you bring.
Bravo. Bravo, bravo. Multă sănătate. Anglia. Anglia. I actually feel quite sorry for Dracula. It's a hot summer's day and there's no air conditioning in that room. I know he's supposed to be cold-blooded, but I bet he gets a bit hot under the collar.
The next morning, we leave Cluj behind and ride south towards Turda. before heading east into the Apusan Hills. I'm retracing my steps from Season 1 to revisit a fairy tale eco-lodge high in the hills above Salciua de Jos. Since our first expedition to the Raven's Nest, friend and owner Adi Powen has been busy making some dramatic improvements to what has already become an award-winning location. I'm here to see what's changed. But first, there was just the small matter of navigating the drive. Easy with a 4x4, but not so much on a road bike.
Good to see you.
Welcome back.
Thank you very much. Honestly, couldn't see this from down there.
No, you can.
Completely
That's the idea,
hidden.
to create a private area for our guests.
Adi, you've surpassed yourself this time. How on earth did you manage to build this?
Well,
the
we
edge
have
of a cliff.
Yeah. Well, we have a motto. If it's too easy, it's not worth doing it.
I can't even begin to start to imagine what was involved in creating these.
A lot of manual work, carrying everything by hand here.
And not cutting down the forest or not making
Not
more room.
cutting
You had to bring
everything.
it all up in amongst the trees to preserve this
Yes.
little arboretum you've got.
Yes, and it was complicated, but it was mission possible.
And I love the fact that you've got just that drop so you can look straight out across the cliff. And you don't even need to go down to the nest if you want to stay here, right?
No, you have everything here.
And people can bring food up to you if
Yes.
you want to just be a hermit.
Definitely.
And there's another one up there, isn't there? There's a second cabin.
There's actually 2 more, because we wanted to expand the story of our place, and we built 3 cabins based on our 3 main characters of the Romanian fairy tales, which are the ravens, the braves, and the dragons.
On the way, we passed the mining town of Hunedoara, home to one of the most romantic edifices in Eastern Europe. This is the much photographed Corvin Castle, named after Matthias Corvin, the King of Hungary and son of Ioan of Hunedoara, who extended and transformed a former keep here in 1446. It's also the largest castle in Transylvania. As I approached the front gate, I was greeted by a medieval welcoming committee.
Charlie!
Hey.
Pe Charlie, vino încoace! Vino acasă noastră, Charlie!
Salut, merci.
Hai să mergem!
Well, Charlie, we bid you welcome within our castle. We have foreseen this moment from 500 years ago, and we've been waiting for you.
You are knights guarding the castle.
Yes, we are some of the knights that remain still from the 15th century.
So this is not necessarily a full-time job anymore. The castle doesn't get attacked so often.
For a full-time job, we've been here for 500 years old. What kind of full-time is that?
Good answer.
There are few more beautiful sights in Romania than timeless Saxon streets, with their brightly painted houses bathed gold in the lazy evening sunlight. Of all the Saxon towns and villages in Transylvania, one of the best preserved is Birtan, with its formidable fortress looming above the rickety clay rooftops. Founded in the 13th century, Birtan quickly became an important market town, and by 1510 supported a population of over 5,000 people. Its 15th century fortress has 3 35-foot high defensive walls, rendering it almost impregnable. Undoubtedly the reason why it's still standing intact today. From 1572 until 1867, Birtan was the seat of the Saxon evangelical bishops of Transylvania, and a wealth of treasures were kept here, which is why security was also of paramount importance.
This door is absolutely fascinating. It was created in 1515 by master craftsman Johannes Reichmuth from Sigishwara. And it has 4 spontaneously operating locks in 15 metal bands. So when you turn it, it completely secures it to the wall. In fact, it was considered to be so interesting and such a work of craftsmanship that it was exhibited at the World Trade Fair in Paris in 1889. Now, it's back where it belongs. People can look at it, but not touch it, sadly, because I really want to do that.
As well as a litany of cultural treasures, Hunnedoara County is home to more than its fair share of natural wonders that make it a film scout's paradise. For instance, this is Keli Benice, a small but perfectly formed canyon that circumnavigates a huge cliff off the road to Petroșani.
When the elements create a sculpture like this, it takes millions of years. And yet more proof, not that we need it, that Peter Jackson could have filmed all 3 episodes of Lord of the Rings right here in Romania and probably saved himself a fortune.
One of the most enduring cultural traditions in the Carpathians is that of the transhumance. The seasonal droving of livestock from the lowlands up into the mountains to graze on the wild flowers and lush grasses of the alpine meadows. Many shepherds travel huge distances over the summer period, setting up makeshift camps where they sleep out in the wild accompanied by their dogs. Daily life consists of tending and breeding their animals, milking the herd each day and making cheese. I'm climbing high up into the Retezat Mountains to join them and to scratch beneath the surface of this harsh and often solitary life.
If I was Bear Grylls, I'd probably say something like, "This is the only way across this inaccessible chasm in order to continue our progress up the mountain." However, just off camera, there's probably a perfectly good footpath. So let's stick to that.
Five minutes drive from Budești takes me back to the village of Brev, a place I visited many times over the past few years, and well known for its sprawling forest of wooden houses. I've stopped here to grab lunch with friend and hotelier Marius Citerc, who has restored a small cluster of buildings to create a traditional restaurant and accommodation for cultural tourists seeking an authentic flavour of the Maramureș.
There are a lot of foreign people coming.
Yes, I even started calling Brab the Manhattan of Maramureș because of all the nationalities coming here. And at the beginning, the locals looked at them and they would give those houses almost for free. And they would laugh at them. They would count the money for the house that they just sold for peanuts almost, because for them there were absolutely no value. Try to buy a house now from a villager and see also the price, or if he will sell it, because he now wants to make
some money himself.
Yeah, some money himself with that.
That is, I have to say, that is amazing news. I mean, that really is fantastic to hear this, because it means that the local people are starting to value their heritage.
Exactly, because they saw that it can be turned into profit.
Yeah.
For the next stop, we remain off-road, as I'm joined by friend Maramureș guide and tourism guru Paul Habina, who took me in search of a small shepherd fold, where on summer evenings, around sunset, visitors can witness a bizarre musical performance, unique to this or maybe any region.
We're in Krasnavisheuli here.
Yeah.
It's quite close to the
Ukraine
border. This is right at the entrance in the Maramureș National Park.
And this is their base for the summer, isn't it?
Exactly. They come from down, from Krasnavisheuli. They move here all the summer. They will stay here with all their ships. And from this sheepfold, they take the sheep and they walk around all these huge mountains. So now as you finished the job and all the sheep are milked, they should be rewarded with some music. We have this traditional instrument here. It's called trâmbița, and the guy is called trâmbițaș.
And this is particular to this area?
To this area, yeah.
Yeah,
Usually,
I've never seen one of these before.
Maybe you saw the wooden ones.
Yeah, I've seen the long didgeridoos that are
Yeah.
about 6 foot long, but nothing like this.
Here, this is traditional, and we'll hear now a special song.
This is the craziest thing I've ever seen. Thank you so much, bravo.
Mulțumim.
You were very good, but I think your dogs might have been better.
Welcome to Bihor County, one of the least well-known and most beautiful parts of the country. The drive was spectacular, passing through old villages and deep forest as the road meandered upwards to an alpine ridge, on which perches a cluster of immaculately restored guest houses called nooks, revamped and reimagined by interior designer Adi Becker. I've come here to meet her and local hero turned veteran TV presenter Christy Tabora. Having been grilled by Christy at the end of our last series, I was looking forward to the chance to turn the tables and ask him a few challenging questions by the campfire. Before the others arrived, I had a nose around my lodgings, a humbling experience and one which put my own efforts at traditional restoration to shame.
Oh yes, a large bath and a big double bed looking out across the view. Catch the sunrise. The attention to detail is off the charts. Every single thing here is exquisitely and tastefully done, except perhaps the box of hankies, which reads, "A tissue for your issue." Ew, that sounds messy.
Later that day, I'm back with a bike for a half-hour ride from Roja to just beyond the village of Meziac, where an increasingly treacherous dirt track takes you to the gaping maw of one of Romania's largest and most impressive caves. I'm due to meet guide and local expert Viorel Lascu, who has kindly agreed to give me the grand tour.
Rajem,
The best cave of Romania.
I can see why you liken this cave to a cathedral.
Gothic cathedral.
With a window.
Yes.
It's huge, isn't it?
Yes.
It's like the nave of a church.
Este cea mai lungă peșteră turistică din România, cu 1500 de metri.
From there, we make our way downwards along a deep gorge that, in our case, required ropes and head torches, as I was about to find out. While the trail hugs the left-hand side of the gorge, it also bypasses one of the most dramatic features of our descent. A point where the river plunges into the earth and continues its journey through a cave system, finally emerging halfway up a cliff. We decided to take the path less traveled. In 2017, Christian Dior released a new collection of haute couture, shamelessly copied from traditional Romanian designs originating in Bihor County. Prices ranged up to 30,000 euros for a culturally expropriated embroidered coat. Unsurprisingly, the good people of Bihor were neither accredited or remunerated for their involuntary contribution to the global fashion industry. In protest, a Romanian magazine called Beau Monde fought back on their behalf, launching a campaign called Bihor Couture, offering original handmade Bihor clothing for less eye-watering prices. Since then, anyone can purchase clothes direct from source, thus encouraging the survival of these traditions and bringing much-needed revenue for the local craftspeople. I've come to the village of Rien to meet one of them, accomplished seamstress and celebrated artisan Anna Pop.
Anna, first, Bihor or Dior?
Bihor.
I'm on my way to the settlement of Pietroasa to rendezvous with Josef, a man whose charity brings much-needed supplies to some of the more isolated communities. Here among the alpine meadows and haystacks is the sleepy hamlet of Petrona. Now sparsely populated, with many houses standing derelict and abandoned. Josef and the gang set to work delivering groceries to those most in need.
Are you forgetting you got an extra passenger, Khalid? Hi, Mango. Stop filming the dog. There's also a presenter in this show. I know you like dogs. Exactly.
Who's more fun?
Finally, after another marathon ride, we reach Timișoara. Known as Little Vienna, or the City of Flowers. Famed for its 36 parks and stunning historic architecture. In 2023, it was made European City of Culture, thanks in part to its many restoration projects and much celebrated ethnic diversity. A city of contradictions, it is at the same time liberal, conservative and forward-thinking, having reached back into its past to redefine a roadmap for the future. With the light fading and the saddle chafing, I went in search of a bed for the night, settling rather comfortably on Hotel Atlas at the edge of the Old Town. Any question as to how it got that name becomes redundant on entering the lobby. While the monastery is spectacular, it's also a gateway to something even more astonishing. If you walk around to the back and take a steep path up the hill, you'll eventually come to a place that could have easily been a movie set for a new installment of Tomb Raider. I'd heard about this place many years ago, but never had the time to get here until now. At the end of the path, there's a small hole in the rock face, which leads you into the mountain through a tiny tunnel, which after a very tight squeeze, opens up into a large cavern, revealing something truly incredible. This is the cave of St. Gregory de Capolitul. It's 400 meters long and was formed by the Bistritza River, which eroded 2 levels, ending in a window which opens out halfway up a vertical cliff. But what makes this cave unique is the fact that it also houses 2 chapels, built as places of worship by refugees that hid here during times of conflict. Two years ago, I walked part of one of the largest and most scenic hiking trails in Europe, the Via Transilvanica, which meanders 1,400 kilometers from Bukovina in the north all the way across Transylvania, finishing in Oltenia by the banks of the Danube. For our final stop, I've come to the hills outside Drobeta Târnă Severin to hike one of its southernmost sections. Joining me are trail organizers Anna Sekeli and Tibi Useriu, also a world-renowned ultra-marathon runner, plus tourism expert Kalin Ili and alpinist Alex Gavan. Our plan is to join a particularly panoramic stretch of the trail, and then to take an extreme shortcut. Instead of continuing over the hills, we will plunge beneath them.
It must have been so much work to put the trail together.
Yes, it was a big journey, so to say, a 4.5 years journey. We started in 2018, and this year we succeeded to finish it. We are going to have also the official guide on the internet. You can download it from the website then, and you can use it as a, it explains you everything you need to know to be able to walk it. You don't need a physical person to come with you and to show you things. If people need guides and persons who are walking with them or showing them things, they will be able to
have an official guide for each area.
Exactly. But for now, we have this written guide, the book.
I think it's a lovely idea because that means you're recruiting local people.
Exactly. This is one of the points for which we did Vieta Silvanica, so to involve the communities and to try for them to evolve their own businesses and their own things so that they don't need to go away and work in other countries.
And you can see that it's a wonderful area. All around you can go with a bike.
Rumour has it this region is riddled, if that's the right word, teeming with hermits.
Yeah, you know how it is with legends, you know, it's a little bit of that, a little bit of that.
So there actually are hermits living out here in the wilderness?
Definitely there are.
Yeah, and I think really they've got the best place for it because if you go right out there, no one's ever going to find you.
Definitely, you have
a bear maybe.
Still, you know that there are a lot of still virgin woods in here and a lot of places that you can indeed.
Virgins or virgin forest?
Virgin forest, definitely.
Okay, right. Not all those hermits running around. Okay, so let's get on the bikes. So I'll follow you, sure?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Don't be scared in the tunnel.
No, I can see the other end actually.
That's great.
Once through the tunnel, the landscape opens up into this completely unspoiled valley, protected on all sides by high cliffs. In this, the fourth episode, we've reached Muntenia and commence our journey starting in the capital city of Bucharest, just 37 miles from the Bulgarian border. It is the most densely populated city in southeastern Europe, and until 1989, the seat of power for the Communist Party, led by the late Nicolae Ceausescu. I'm on my way to visit his lavish headquarters, ironically dubbed the People's Palace. Still, the heaviest and second largest building in the world, weighing in at a whopping 4.10 million tons. It's now the House of Parliament for the Romanian government and is jointly occupied by the Senate and the Deputy Chamber. We've been granted exclusive access to see what usually goes on behind closed doors, with the help of my guide Francis, who was waiting for me in one of its cavernous lobbies.
Francis.
Hello, Charlie.
Hey, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Thanks for coming.
My pleasure.
This really defies the descriptions.
It is pretty impressive. It's more than 4 million tons, the weight of the palace. And also the lights, as you can see, there are 2,800 chandeliers in the building.
Ceausescu must have been very desperate to make a big impression.
Yeah.
With the amount of labor and the costs and materials involved in building this.
He wanted a big building. Obviously, let's be honest, you know, when they built this palace, they destroyed 1/5 of the Bucharest. So nobody builds a building like this just to show humility. Yeah. Let me show you the chamber of the Senate. This is where the action happens. Mega legislators, they make the laws over here. They have the atomic precision clock.
What was this originally intended as, this
still for the big meetings of the Communist Party before.
What is very strange seeing this is that the communist regime was all about being down to earth, about not having grandeur. Places like the Imperial Spa and Baile Herculani, they were painting over the marble because it was redolent of the bourgeois. And yet here we have a building that is more opulent, more extravagant.
Because the purpose, original purpose was to show off the power and the might. And they realized that they couldn't impress with the communist apartment buildings.
I think it nicely demonstrates the fact that no political regime ever truly succeeds You know, look at that. This
Power
is,
corrupts.
This is communism.
Yeah.
Well, there are
but
people...
not on the textbook, you know?
Everybody's equal, but some people are less equal than others.
When each component is assembled on the plate, the result is a visual feast. The sauce is truffle combined with a red wine beef and vegetable reduction.
Jonas, that is a thing of great beauty.
Thank you very much.
If we could fix everything in place, you could turn it that way and put it on the wall in an art gallery. And of course, every time you do this, it's going to look different. So it's a new exhibition every evening. That's the best venison I've had in Romania. Celeriac is a great and much healthier substitute for kartoff puree, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the flavour's much nicer.
Altogether, we think it's a good...
It's a very, very nice arrangement.
I'm opting for a trip to the top of the mountains to visit a small shepherd fold, where hopefully we arrive in time for lunch. The journey there was mesmerising and takes you deep into the wild, along rutted, narrow tracks and up through miles of forest. Eventually, we emerged from the trees high above the surrounding hills to be greeted by open skies and even bigger views. Most of the Carpathian heights beyond the tree line serve as grazing land for local and migratory shepherds who drive their livestock up here each spring to fatten them on the long grass and wildflowers of the alpine meadows. Aside from herding the sheep or cattle and bringing them back to the fold each evening, much of the shepherd's time is spent milking and making cheese. One staple ingredient of their daily diet is bulls, a rustic but culturally vital recipe that has become representative of the Romanian peasant cuisine. I've come here to get a crash course in how to make it, and once more experience the tranquility and harsh beauty of life in the mountains.
What a lot of shepherd dogs. Well, you need them here to protect the herd. You're going to be almost indistinguishable from the sheep that you're guarding. Going to get really big. I can see you're the large one. This is the one that eats all the food. The other one's a bit runty. You are going to be a huge dog. One day, my son, you'll grow up to chase bears just like your daddy. Sensational. That's what I'm talking about. And I don't know whether it's the altitude or just the love that's gone into making this and watching it cooking over the fire, but it just tastes out of this world.
Perhaps the most mysterious and intriguing feature of the geopark has less to do with geology and more to do with the people who once inhabited this wild region. Hidden in the mountains around Colts is Romania's alternative to Stonehenge, a series of spectacular cave churches hewn from remote cliffs. While many believe they were made by religious hermits in medieval times, there are also scholars who attribute their origins to the pre-Christian era. Whether or not they were created by the church, they have now been assimilated by it and have since been periodically occupied by solitary monks and even the occasional nun. Many of them can only be reached by either a long hike or some technical driving, preceded by a shorter one. First up is Schitul Fundatura, Schitul meaning church. This small oval dwelling is camouflaged by the trees and unique in that it was carved from a single boulder.
You can see the etchings on the walls and the ceilings. It looks as if this rock was literally hollowed out with a fork. It's had many people associated with this. It's had mystics, it's had monks, and it's also had 12 nuns living here, according to the stories. Quite how that dynamic worked, I'm not so sure. They must have all just sort of slept like sausages in here at night, unless, of course, they had a wooden church adjacent to the rock. but any trace of that has long since vanished in the forest. This is the Church of Saint Joseph, and it's the oldest of the cave churches, probably dating back to the Bronze Age. It might have been a dwelling, or it could have been a temple, but you get an idea of what it looked like by the holes in the rock. The square ones probably would have taken beams that stretched out here with supports, and correspondingly, the roof would have extended out to create a pavilion. None of these root networks would have been here. It would have been completely flat, and maybe the forest wouldn't have existed either. So you would have had a clear view right across the valley.
Back down the trail on a jutting peninsula of stone is the cave of Dionysa Tocatoro. Named after a monk who lived there in the 19th century and used to spin wool. But again, its origins are probably much older.
You have to admit this is a pretty good defensive position. If you're under attack, you just pull up the ladder. Obviously in those days it was wooden, and you'd sit here till they went away. You'd also be safe from bears.
Leaving Buzão County, we head down through the foothills towards the historic town of Brăila. It's remarkable how completely the landscape changes as you descend into the floodplains of the River Danube, crossing intensive arable farmland interspersed with towns, lazy rivers and shallow lakes. Once again, it's easy to see evidence of global warming. For instance, the dry, mud-crusted crater that used to be Lake Balta Alba, a once thriving wetland on its way to becoming just another arid dust bowl.
Romania never ceases to surprise me. It is such a vast country. And here we have what looks like a salt flat. I mean, we could be in Utah in the United States, but this is further proof of global warming. I mean, this entire basin here was a lake once upon a time. And now the grass and the weeds are taking it back and stretches for miles. Absolutely extraordinary.
Before Brăila, we take a quick detour to visit Lacul Sărat, a nature reserve and lake that is lined with deep deposits of healing sapropelic mud, as we saw at Lake Târghichiol in Season 1. Locals come here to wallow on its shores and smear their skin with its fishy, sulfur-rich residue and then let it dry off in the hot sun. But what makes Lacul Sărat such an incredible sight are the microbes and bacteria that flourish in its warm, sun-kissed waters, transforming its surface into a phantasmagorical collage of Martian hues, reminiscent of a landscape described in H.G. Wells's War of the Worlds. Welcome back to our ongoing journey. After 2.5 months on the road, we've arrived in Dobroja. This complex region is sandwiched between Bulgaria to the south and the Ukraine and Moldova to the north, and by the Black Sea to the east, putting it right on the border between the Occident and the Orient. An important stopping point on the spice routes, Dobroja has been colonized by many different peoples from the ancient Greeks, who founded cities here as far back as 2700 BC. Or more recently the Romans, who built towns, ports and outposts during Emperor Trajan's conquest of the Dacians. I'm on my way to one of them, the Roman town of Trapezium, next to Adam Clesi. The town and a corresponding monument were built to commemorate the final victorious battle in the second campaign against the Dacians. This was not an easy win. The Battle of Adam Clesi would have been lost if a commander of the camp, Praefectus Castrorum, had not intervened with his army of well-trained professionals and managed to turn the tide in Trajan's favour. But not before 3,800 Roman soldiers died in the process.
So Trajan built the citadel at the same time as he built the monument to commemorate the final victory in the First War against the Dacians. And this place had all the mod cons. It had running water, they brought it from 7 kilometers away. It had a sewage system, had a town hall for 2,000 people, soldiers, their wives and their children, who lived here. For over 400 years this place was occupied, until eventually they gave it up because there were too many marauding tribes. It kept being conquered. In fact, it burnt down at one point. But it was, at its peak, a bustling city, and no expense was spared to build this. Then, of course, the Romans had quite a lot of gold, which was the main reason they were here in the first place. This is the largest freshwater lake in Romania, and when I mean large, I can't see the far end. Behind me over there is a thin spit of land, maybe a few hundred meters wide, and that separates it from the sea. There used to be an opening around Guru Potice, but it got closed up. And the result of that is that gradually this lake has begun to silt, and there's less and less oxygen, which means less and less fish. And the fishermen that lived along its shores and used to make a living working these waters, many of them have now stopped and gone on to do other things. Conservationists argue, and it's a persuasive argument, that this needs to be opened back up to the sea, and that will allow a through flow of water which will carry much of the silt gradually into the Black Sea, as it does in other parts of the delta, and will enable the fish to multiply again because there'll be more oxygen. But at the moment, not a lot's going on. I can't see any fishing boats right now.
When you come here, apart from chilling out at the infinity pool or looking at your extensive art collection, you can also fish or take a boat. Where are we going to go?
We're going to go to the Perishore Wild Beach through the channels close to the Dranov Lake.
So we're starting here.
Yeah.
We're moving down here, through there.
Yeah.
And we'll meet the enemy on the shore here.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Right, sir.
Right, sir.
This is all a protected area, is it? That
Yeah.
looks like it's the
I protected
the biosphere reserve.
with my life.
But I mean, that is actually a biosphere reserve there, isn't it? So
Yes.
we're right on the edge of it.
What is painted with red,
Yeah.
it's strictly protected area, and the rest you can visit.
All right, fingers crossed, we'll get some wildlife mergem.
Let's go.
Got the traditional paddle. If anything else goes wrong, the engine suddenly stops.
Dunai means in Russian language means Danube.
Yeah.
Dunărea in Romania.
Dunărea.
And little Danube, it's Dunai Văd.
Hence the name, right? Dunăvăd.
The name of our village.
Little Danube.
Little Danube.
It's like the Amazon in places. It's incredibly
It's
wild,
called
isn't
the
it?
Amazon of Europe.
I can see the horses over there.
Yeah, the horses are there, the wild horses.
Well, the feral horses, right?
Yes. The people left them, and
Yeah.
now
And now they're breeding a
they're
lot.
breeding. There are like 400, 500 pieces. They have a very tough life, and some of them die because there is not so much food.
After a gourmet feast, we hopped aboard Dragoș's boat for an evening expedition to the mouth of the Salina Channel, which protrudes into the Black Sea, funneled by robust stone embankments. These are often choppy waters where the river currents meet the tide and create a rich feeding ground for many species of fish and the predators that gather here to devour them.
Yeah? We are surrounded by a pod of dolphins. This is incredible. And if the waves weren't so rough, I'd dive in right now and swim with them, but it's a problem getting back on the boat. and will result in some heavy bruising. So they're right there, I can practically reach out and touch them. Wow! I've never had this experience on the Black Sea. Thank you, Dragos. Woo! Hey!
Back at the floating hotel, now anchored at the edge of Roshu Lake, it was the final night of the tour, and our resident musician was preparing to serenade the setting sun.
Travelling on a cruise in the Delta is all about spending time with your friends, and we have this rare opportunity to see Mihai Toma, who composed the soundtrack for Flavours of Romania, Season 1, and you're going to be writing some new material here, being inspired.
Some new songs and being inspired by this amazing landscape. Exactly.
So Mihai, I want to hear what you've come up with so far.
Yes, I'm glad to
Because we might be using this in the show.
Of course. You can use
Your
it.
first impressions of being here on the Delta?
For the final stretch of my journey across Dobroja, we're abandoning the tourist trails and stepping off the beaten track to go in search of an ancient and mysterious cave church located near the village of Dumbroven on the Bulgarian border. To get there, you travel through a stark and unfamiliar landscape of corrugated downs, crisscrossed by ravines and rocky outcrops, sculpted into weird and wonderful shapes. The Canarua Feti Cave Church is not easy to find. There's very little about it online, no signs from the road, and the sat-nav sends you to a field of vegetables on the top of a hill. By a process of elimination, I finally found myself on a grassy trail, riding further and further into the unknown. Preoccupied by the thought that, if the bike were to break down now, we would be in serious trouble.
Either I've come round the back way and I'm going to find a car park and a gift shop on the other side, or this is one of the least promoted places I've visited in Romania. All I can see is an arrow on the cliff up there, so I think we're in the right place. Let's go find out.
No way. These are clearly man-made tunnels. I have no idea why they're here, probably for religious purposes. But it's extraordinary. Who cuts a little labyrinth halfway up a cliff? There's a tunnel down there. Oh! And it just goes off into the darkness. There's a lot of dust. And clearly no one's been down it. There's no footprints, there's no boot prints. There's something very spooky about this. Can you hear that?
Yeah, I've heard it.
There's something down there.
Oh, it's going quite deep.
Look at it, it's cut straight down into the rock. Listen.
Yeah, I've heard it.
Yeah, me too. I think there's something there. You need to be careful.
So that's going to have to remain yet another mystery. But who built these? I don't think anybody really knows. It may be Nosferatu. This is how horror movies begin. You realize that, don't you? It's like, one of the lights isn't working properly. I'm on my hands and knees. There's no footprints. Dusty, lots of flies. Why are they there? And a pitch black tunnel that descends into nothing, disappears into the void. Yeah. Let's not do what they do in Scooby-Doo. Let's go check it out. These holes here were coffins, stone burial chambers for monks, or maybe they're even older, maybe repurposed by the Christian faith, because there's a couple of postcards and candle wax in that one. So this was really a necropolis, which still doesn't explain the tunnel going off into the darkness at the other end, or the growling noise. Not far to go, which is lucky, because we set off at 7 and it's almost 9, and I think it's over 30 degrees at the moment, so I dread to think what it's going to be like in another hour or two.
Situated down dirt roads in the heart of the forest, the Cascada Buciaș is 20 meters deep and thunders down a cliff face, sending clouds of spray high in the air. While this is a captivating sight, there's a less well-known curiosity a few hundred meters upstream. Yet another Romanian Sphinx.
Unlike the one we saw in Timiș County, this does look a bit more like a sphinx, or at least the head and side profile.
The third monastery on our circuit lies high in the Sicla Mountains. Famed as an area for religious hermits from the 13th century AD. And you can see why. Stories tell how Stephen the Great once took a shortcut through here on his way to Namps Monastery, chancing upon an old hermit who lived in a cottage under a rock. Being deeply impressed by his piousness, the prince had a church built from the wood of a single fir tree, in which the hermit could pray for him. But this area achieved even greater spiritual importance when in the 17th century, a nun by the name of Theodora turned her back on society and lived here in a cave, making prophecies and performing miracles. With some relief, we arrived safe at Sicla Monastery, which is dedicated to her memory. and huddles beneath a cliff with panoramic views across the surrounding hills. The area around Piatra Neamț was also a Dacian stronghold for 100 years before and after the Common Era. The fortress of Petrodava, situated on a cliff top above what is now the reservoir, was a powerful political and military centre during the time of Dacian King Burebista and up until the reign of King Decebal. It was even mentioned in the writings of Greek geographer and mathematician Ptolemy during the 2nd century AD. Today, little can be seen except a few stones, stubbornly jutting from the loam. With a growing sense of déjà vu, we ride towards Red Lake and the Bicaz Gorge. But this time around, I'm dropping the bike and driving up steep tracks into the hills above. This winding forest road takes you into the Carpathian Highlands, where isolated villages cling to precipitous slopes and narrow valleys hang above jaw-dropping panoramas. Instead of following the trail over the bridge, we branched off along a less trodden route which meanders through the trees to a muddy log-strewn precipice. Skidding and sliding downwards, we picked our way gracelessly back to the water's edge. From this point forward, not even the cameras could follow us. For the next 2 kilometers, we were committed to wading up a narrow canyon over slippery rocks and through plunge pools, some of which turned out to be a lot deeper than expected. About an hour later, the end was finally in sight. One more quick swim against the current and an embarrassing struggle to beach myself like a clumsy walrus on the rocks above, and we were almost there. Aquaman and I triumphantly waded and paddled the last few yards, emerging safely into alpine meadows. A bumpy and breathtaking drive later, I'm up in the hills above the village of Vama, on my way to meet Bogdan Calinescu. A university student who spends his summers working in the fields and upholding the old methods of farming.
Utterly breathtaking. There's no other word for it. And completely worth getting up at 6 in the morning to be up here in time to see this river of mist in the Bistrița Valley. I think this is one of the most beautiful sights I've seen since we set out back in May. Romania is the gift that just keeps on giving. Wherever you go, different landscapes, different times of day, it's a photographer's paradise.
Undoubtedly, the most iconic images of Bukovina are of its UNESCO World Heritage painted monasteries. Their exterior walls decorated with elaborate 15th and 16th century frescoes, featuring scenes from the Bible and the subsequent history of the church. These dramatic and often brutal images, especially where depicting the suffering of the saints, were created to inspire and educate the local populace, who in many cases were unable to read or write. principal among these is the Church of Voronezh, famed for its vibrant blues, using a natural pigment that remains a secret to this day. I was fortunate enough to get a personal tour from Mother Superior Gabriella.
Welcome.
Mother Superior, thank you so much for having us.
Welcome to our monastery.
With our time in Bukovina almost at an end, there's one last place that's a must-see if you visit this region. However, it's not somewhere you can reach by bike. I'm on a forest road 20 minutes from Dorna Cadrenelor, heading up into the Calaman National Park, in search of one of Romania's most epic rock formations. The mysterious 12 Apostles, a bizarre cluster of stone pillars, rising from the trees like the fingertips of a giant clawing at the sky.
Well, we've reached a new pinnacle for Flavours of Romania, and it's in Bukovina. I think this is one of the most beautiful places I've seen so far. And you have 360-degree views in all directions, probably for over 100 kilometers. It's understandable why this is called the 12 Apostles. It has a distinctly spiritual feeling, an atmosphere. And I'm sure that at some point in history or prehistory, this was a sacred site for somebody. And a fitting place to end our journey around Bukovina.
Feeling exhilarated and exhausted in equal measure, it was time to head back to base, painfully aware that this year-long odyssey was almost over.
I'm standing on the edge of the change.
And there are so many things we haven't had time to include. But before reaching home, there was one more unmissable sight to show you. An incredible natural phenomenon that only happens for a few days each spring. This is the village of Fundata above Bran, with panoramic views across Piace Craiului and the Bucegi Massif, and voted the prettiest village in Romania in 2023. I've come here to drop off the bike and set out for a final stroll up past the tree line in hope of catching this season's flush of wild rhododendrons.
I'm standing on the edge of the change. And the world is spinning into shade. Cast it out on all plans.
My friends in England asked me why I decided to emigrate to Transylvania. And this is my answer. We're on the roof of the Carpathian Mountains, and it doesn't get much more beautiful than this anywhere in the world. Surrounded by a carpet of rhododendrons. These flowers used to be picked by the local people and made into tinctures and herbal teas. Unfortunately, too many people started making a habit of it, so that's been rightly banned now. But everyone can still come up here, sit on a rock, and enjoy this feral beauty. And I still have to pinch myself when I remember that this is now home sweet home. You can see that other hill in the distance. is also completely purple in the sunlight. As the Ministry of Tourism might say, welcome to the Carpathian Garden.